अश्रिनिभिर्निभिरस्य मान्ये छिद्यात् प्रसाया रुषतिम् असतिं प्रभुश्चेच जिह्वामसोऽनपि ततो विसृजेत् स धर्मा कर्णो पीडाय निरयात् कल्पयिषे धर्माभितारे अश्रिनिभिर्निभिरस्य माने छिद्यात् प्रहसाय रुषतिम् असतिं प्रभुश्चेत जीवामसूनपि ततो विसृजेत् स धर्मा Sati continued, if one hears an irresponsible person blaspheme the master and controller of religion, one should block his ears, go away, if unable to punish him. But if one is able to kill, then one should by force cut out the blasphemer's tongue and kill the offender, and after that one should give up his own life. But the argument offered by Sati is that a person who vilifies a great personality is the lowest of all creatures. But by the same argument, Daksha could also defend himself by saying that since he was a Prajapati, the master of many living creatures, and one of the great officers of the great universal affairs, his position was so exalted that Sati should accept his good qualities instead of vilifying him. The answer to that argument is that Sati was not vilifying but defending. If possible, she should have cut out Daksha's tongue because he blasphemed Lord Shiva. In other words, since Lord Shiva is the protector of religion, a person who vilifies him should be killed at once. And after killing such a person, one should give up one's own life. That is the process, but because Daksha happened to be the father of Sati, she decided not to kill him but to give up her own life in order to compensate for the great sin she had committed by hearing blasphemy of Lord Shiva. The instruction set forth here in Srimad Bhagavatam is that one should not tolerate at any cost the activities of a person who vilifies or blasphemes an authority. If one is a Brahmana, he should not give up his body because by so doing he would be responsible for killing a Brahmana. Therefore, a Brahmana should leave the place and block his ears so that he will not hear the blasphemy. If one happens to be the Kshatriya, he has the power to punish any man. Therefore, Kshatriya should at once cut the tongue of the vilifier and kill him. But as far as the Vaishyas and Shudras are concerned, they should immediately give up their bodies. Sati decided to give up her body because she thought herself to be among the Shudras and Vaishyas. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 9:32. Striyo Vaishya Sada Shudra. Woman labors and mercantile class are on the same level. Thus, since it is recommended that Vaishyas and Shudras should immediately give up their bodies upon hearing the blasphemy of an exalted person like Lord Shiva, she decided to give up her life. Mother Sati continued, if one hears an irresponsible person blaspheme the master and controller of religion, one should block his ears and go away if unable to punish him. But if one is able to kill, then one should, by force, cut out the blasphemer's tongue and kill the offender, and after that one should give up his own life. Mother Sati is portraying here how one should be having such an intense and strong distaste for hearing the blasphemy of great personalities. So now one should be genuinely feeling so much pain in hearing the blasphemy of great personalities that in front of that, the pain of leaving one's body measures out to be insignificant. That is the consciousness which Mother Sati uh, is portraying here. How a devotee should have extreme distaste and aversion for hearing blasphemy about any great person. So Mother Sati is describing different mentalities of people can act in different ways. Uh, Whereas a Brahmana can block his ears and leave the place. A Kshatriya can punish. The Vaishya Shudra can give up their bodies. Now this is intense, but all it points out is how dangerous is hearing the blasphemy of the devotees of the Because the devotee is willing to react in such a way that even if uninvited one happens to hear the blasphemy or un yeah, without having any idea about what's coming up, just like the case of Mother Sati, still one is ready to take such a strong action just so that the blasphemy of the devotees of the Lord should not enter one's existence. Acharyas go to the extent of saying that blasphemy or criticism, whether it is correct or not, one should not partake of it. That means even if it is correct, one should not be much inclined to hear it. Discussion has to be there for the glories of the Supreme, the glories of the great devotees. That's what discussion is meant for. Discussion is never meant for churning the controversies. So we can understand that uh, this is quite intense. This is quite intense because now we can imagine that if there is a proclivity in a person about rejoicing or enjoying in hearing about the limitations of blasphemy of devotees, uh, then such a person is carving a very unfortunate future, a very miserable and dark and bleak future. Mahaprabhu compares blasphemy to as a drinking poison. So, Srimad Bhagavatam explains, first canto, fifth chapter, sixth chapter, Srimad is explaining that those who are uh, interested in discussing Krishna Katha, the nectar of Krishna Katha, such people are like swans. So they prefer to live in clear, crystal clear water lakes. Such people are like swans. But then there are creatures who want to partake of the rejected refuse of this material world, the rubbish. The sense gratification is also rubbish. So, in that sense, such people are compared to as crows. because they partake of uh, all this rejected rubbish. Anything without without connection to pastimes of the Supreme Lord, glories of the Supreme Lord is as good as rubbish. One who partakes of this, such a person is called as crows. So sensual topics and the rejected refuse of sensual topics, that's crow mentality. The worst in this lot is criticism of devotees. Because this criticism of devotees is this criticism of devotees shoots out from the platform of false ego, actually. So this is worst of the lot. Just like the Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj, in Mana Shiksha and prayers, he describes Puja La Pratishtha to be Shukarera Vishtha, the worst of the lot. Puja La Pratishtha. So, Puja La Pratishtha. Now, Puja La Pratishtha, we may say not exactly criticism, but actually both are drives of false ego, if you see. Puja La Pratishtha is the hankering for money and various hankering for worship, hero worship. And one wants to be hero worship by others. One wants gain, name, fame, influence, pratishtha, influence one wants. So this puja pratishtha is basically a drive, the hankering or the lust to feed the false ego. It is basically a drive to feed the false ego. Puja, la, pratishtha. So when one goes on this trajectory of false ego, criticism is natural. That is the link. Criticism is natural because one can puff oneself up in two ways. One is to show and prove statistics which exhibit one's greatness. That's one way. So puja la pratishtha is toward that side. And the other way, so one is to try to prove oneself to be higher. That's a direction. That's one direction. The other direction is try to prove others are lower. That's the other direction. So in the forward direction, it's puja la pratishtha. In the reverse direction, it is criticism, blasphemy. It's the same thing because both are being used to prove oneself great. Puja la pratishtha is the same thing because it feeds the false ego. So therefore, what Srila Bhakti Thakur Maharaj is telling is quite important. That this is Shukarera Vishta, the worst of the lot, the stool of the stool eater hog. It is very miserable. So therefore, one should not be wanting to hear. Because it is very detrimental. So one should not be wanting to hear blasphemy, the criticism of devotees. Hmm? Hmm? Detrimental. to one's spiritual health. Detrimental means harmful. Very detrimental to one's spiritual health. So, as devotees, we should understand as soon as uh, there is this atmosphere of negativity. See, now the point is that there is two ways by which one can puff up oneself. But now the point is that when one goes the positive way, I mean no, the puja la pratishtha way, I mean, both are negative ways, but the puja la pratishtha way one goes, then one has to prove. Material resources are required to prove. Statistics, figures are required. Fan following is required. So much is a lot of physical resources are required to prove that one is very great, or to prove the greatness of the false ego. So in this material world, there is always a crunch of resources. Resources are there, but not with us. Now, if we want to keep resources with us, there's a lot of hard work which has to. Resources are there this world, but not with us. We want to keep it with us, lot of hard work. Resources are there, so much water is there. But if we want to store water, we have to buy tank, we have to make arrangements, we have to buy a Tolu machine to pump up, pumping machine, and so on. Similarly, uh, no, jewels, navaratnas are existing in this world. But if we want it with us, we have to pay a very heavy price. If we are satisfied, it's there in the heart, then no problem. So if we want it with us, then a heavy price has to be taken. Heavy price has to be paid. So the point is resources are there, but not with us. And if you want to keep resources with us, very, very heavy price. Now, so therefore, the Pujana Pratishtha way to pump up the false ego is not is a very rigorous way. And therefore, one may not be able to go very far on this line because it's very costly. Puja La Pratishtha, and it will not happen. It will not work out so easily. Puja La Pratishtha. So, because to arrange resources is a little more difficult. But the other way is a very easy way. The other way is a very easy way. Because the other way, one doesn't have to do anything about himself or herself. In the other way, one simply has to lower the position of the other, or the target personality, and that's it. And that is very easy. So therefore, the so therefore, you see, criticism is a feature of mode of ignorance because it is very easy, and therefore, criticism is a feature of mode of ignorance. Why? Because it's very easy. One doesn't have to do anything about himself or herself. One can simply speak blasphemy. That's all. It's very easy. So, better than criticism is competition. So we are seeing, no, so out of envy, no, if a person sees another personality more glorious, then immediately the criticism, envy comes. Out of envy, criticism will come. Out of envy, criticism has come. So that is mode of ignorance. Better than that is competition. That one sees the greatness or the success of another person, and even if one is feeling pinch, hey, why this person has become accomplished, then one should try to compete. That's mode of passion. That's also not good. But it is better than ignorance. So that's mode of passion. But the best thing to do is the goodness. So in goodness, what one does, so now criticism is ignorance, competition is passion. What is goodness then? What is goodness? So goodness is respect and appreciation. And what am I going to get if I respect and appreciate? What am I going to get simply by respecting and appreciation? No, we don't understand the science. The science is explained in the Bhakti Shastras. That when we offer respect and appreciation, then what happens is that we connect to that personality uh, in a very congenial way, and that becomes a perfect circuitry for the conduction of all the good qualities in that personality into our hearts. All the good qualities in the heart. So ultimate result is what? Person who appreciates and offers respect, such a person becomes like the exemplary personality whom he or she was offering respect and appreciation. Whereas in the person in the mode of ignorance, a person simply because of having that fault finding mentality, one simply gets a big stock of negative qualities, which infect the person, and his demeanor also becomes the most negative. So that is why it is said at whatever we zoom at, we are going to get. We are zooming at good qualities of Vaishnavas, we are also going to get it. If we are zooming at negative qualities of Vaishnavas, we will also get negative qualities. So whatever we zoom on is what we get, is what gets installed in our heart. Therefore, negative qualities, right or wrong, does not matter. Genuine or fake does not matter. We should abstain from both. Abstain from both. Yes. So now we can understand also in this cycle or in this mechanism. Now one may say, okay, compete. How about competition? Now, the point is, competition has a great risk to glide down to criticism. That is why passion never remains for a long time. Either we purify passion and make it goodness by the power of bhakti, or that passion naturally glides down to ignorance. Because to compete, again, to prove oneself is a very arduous task. But to criticize is very cheap. So therefore, we can try to understand that this criticism or blasphemy is basically a destructive mentality in which one is not putting anything constructive in one's heart and mind, and one wants demeaning others means in a way one wants to destroy them. So it is a very destructive mentality. Whereas appreciation and respect is a very constructive mentality. Because at the end of appreciation and respect, whatever one is appreciating and respecting, one gets those good qualities. So it is very constructive for oneself also and others also. If you genuinely appreciate Vaishnavas, they feel encouraged in their service. If you genuinely respect Vaishnavas for what they are, what they're doing, that encourages them in their service. So for the sake of Vaishnavas, if you appreciate them, that's very good. And for ourselves, when we appreciate, we get the positive qualities we appreciate. So that is why, and all these metaphors which are used are simply to drill this point in our hearts that how much one should abstain from hearing the criticisms or doing the criticism. Srila Gopal Bhatta Goswami used to exemplify that. He would never hear anything wrong about any devotee, even if it is correct. So no, I'm not going to hear. So the materialistic mindset, the crow-like mindset, will try to zoom on it. If someone is saying, the controversy in GBC, say, tell, what happened? Immediately one wants to zoom in, discuss at length, like that. But when it comes to, say, a holy day, say the appearance day of an acharya, then one may say, oh, I'm very busy. I don't have time to, who is going to zoom on okay, it's very glorious, all acharyas is very glorious, wonderful, so one doesn't want to zoom in, he says, okay, that's okay, so many acharyas, so many appearance, so many disappearance, better I focus on my, but anything controversy comes immediately all the time in the world. What is this? How it is, and so this is the point actually. This is a true-like mentality, the disease mentality actually, which keeps one hooked to this material world. To explain this, the importance of this, Mother Sati is talking about all these metaphorical ways. Actually, in one sense, basically, uh, in one sense, I say, hey, we have to leave the body. So, do you have to leave the body? Here it is being said a Brahmana should not leave the body. Why? Why should a Brahmana not leave the body? Shudra should leave the body. So we have to understand Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. When it is being talking about, they're not talking about classes of people as such. They're actually mentalities. They're actually mentalities. Now, a kind of people may exemplify and fully or profusely manifest that mentality. Then those people acquire that terminology. But this is actually talking about mentality when we see from our perspective. So Brahmana, if the mentality is that of subservience to Krishna, then such a person should not kill oneself. Why? If the body of Shudra also belongs to Krishna. Yes. So Brahmana means Brahmana's body is being by the understanding that one is a Brahmana, we can understand Brahmana means one who is walking in the spiritual energy. That means what? A Brahmana will be already doing a very nice service to the society. Because the Brahmana he or she is preaching. Brahmana is preaching, is helping people connect to God, doing a very nice service. So if one is doing a very nice service, then one can keep the body. That's what it is said. So if one is an administrator, one can punish and rectify the other blasphemer, and one should do that. One can do that, punish and rectify. So, and as far as Vaishya and Shudra means, Vaishya Shudra understand that they cannot help. I mean, they cannot purify the offender, the blasphemer. So it is said they should leave the body. Now, leaving the body is an interesting concept because leaving the body also means basically leaving the mentality. Leaving the mentality of rejoicing in the criticism of others. That's another meaning of leaving the body. And why do we not literally or physically leave the body? Because we can do some service to Krishna in the Sankirtan movement with this body. That's the only point. That is the only point. If one can punish and rectify the other person, one can. So, I'll say cut the tongue of the other person and then kill oneself. Huh? That's what is being said. So, no. So, the Chaitanya Charitamrita also said, cut the tongue. No, it is said that one can argue and defeat the other person. You can argue and defeat the other person. That's what it is said. So now in this day and age, we don't kill ourselves, we don't kill others. The reason is because ourselves also there is a chance that we can serve Krishna more. So why to give the body? And others also there is a chance that they can take up to Krishna. So therefore we don't have to because in Kali Yuga everything is superficial. So somebody may be demoniac, right? Demonism is also superficial. You have to understand. But Kali Yuga everything is superficial. Uchi dukan, phika parpan. No substantiality. One may be a Brahmana, that is also superficial. One may be a Shudra, that is also superficial. So what to do? Therefore, Jara deke tare kaho, Krishna Upadesh. So, so therefore, Janma Sartha Kari, Karo, Paropkar. That is a principle one has to follow. But one should have extreme distaste for hearing. As soon as we identify a word which is saying critical, one should immediately mind it and not go on. So either leave the place, defeat the other person in argument, or block one ears, we should do that. Or defeat them in argument, explain the proper thing. If we cannot do that, better leave. Let's stop here for today. Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.